What's up, Lakers Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Lakers Corner, where we talk all things Lakers. Today is Thursday, December 21st. We are recording before the Minnesota Timberwolves and Lakers game. And today, I do have the privilege of being joined by my guys of the Lakers Fast Break Pod. Go ahead and start with a familiar face right there, right next to me. He's second appearance on Lakers Corner. My guy, Gerald. Gerald, how you doing?
Doing okay. Happy holidays to you and your audience out there. Truly appreciate you bringing us back on, and wishing you and everyone out there a truly Merry Christmas as well.
Absolutely. Always wishing all
Or a
Lakers Nation
Lakers Christmas. Happy Lakers Christmas to you.
a happy Lakers Christmas to you indeed. And we have a new face on this show. We got my guy Joe. Joe, how you doing?
How you doing, guys? Good to be on.
Good to have you on. Good to have you on. Like I said, these are my guys from the Lakers Fast Break Pod. In this episode, we're really just going to get into all things Lakers, man. Talk about some of the biggest news surrounding Lakers as of late. I know right now, as of December 21st, Lakers are on a 3-game losing streak. And I just thought, we need to talk about this. Need to talk about what's going on. Talk about some thoughts and some takeaways. So who better to have than Sean, Joe, and Gerald? So let's go ahead and get into it. Gerald, I know you've already, expressed your thoughts on how the Lakers have been playing so far. My first appearance on the show. So I do want to start off with Joe. Joe, have the floor and just, give us some of your biggest takeaways as to, how Lakers have been so far. Now we're 8th seed, 15-13. What are some of your biggest takeaways about this Lakers team this year?
I commend the main stars for being available as much as they have been, which is kind of, I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm succumbing to the pansy era of basketball by thanking them for showing up. That should be the basics. But the Lakers seem to have a mentality this year of let's run the schedule the way we want, because apparently we're good enough to do what we need to do when it matters. So we got a little bit of taste of that when it came to the tournament. They ended up going 7-0 in the tournament games. Last 2 games were essential blowouts, and that gave them maybe a false sense of security, if you will, that they feel like they can turn it on. With all due respect to the team, other than maybe LeBron and AD, you guys have not won anything. You have no room to turn it on or turn it off. And unfortunately, you also have a head coach that really doesn't know what he's doing. And as a head coach, and I never really paid attention to Darvin Ham's assistant coaching prowess, but Gerald knows I look at assistant coaches like I look at, I don't know, bench seats at the bus stop. I don't really
window dressing, basically.
Yeah. I think that's the kinder word. I couldn't care any less more about assistant coaches. Head coach is the boss. The head coach is supposed to make the final decisions on this, especially in basketball. Assistant coaches and maybe football make a difference because it is a much larger piece of what needs to be running on a football team. But in basketball, a head coach, one head coach making decisions is usually ultimately what's going to steer the ship well. The assistant coach's job is to essentially cover the head coach's remedial stuff. That's, to me, what a assistant coach does. I think maybe there's only been really one coach that was an assistant that you could say was head coaching worthy, and that was probably Tim Thibodeau back in 2008 when he was coaching with Doc Rivers when the Celtics won the championship. That's the only one I can remember that was, you could have some validation there. But the Lakers are obviously playing. They're playing like they're up 20-10 in the records, and we went through the details on what the main issues are with the Lakers beyond the normal stuff of, well, Darvin is playing small ball, or this person's not really playing defense well. At the end of the day, there's 2 main issues with this team. One is they don't get rebounds when they're supposed to, and the other is they don't hit their open shots. So when you don't make your rebounds, that means you're giving the opponent another shot at making a shot in which they've already been making shots at a crazy clip against you and only you recently. And then, of course, when you miss open shots, the opposing team is not going to take you seriously in terms of anyone other than maybe AD and LeBron taking over a game. And if we can't even get one extra guy to just be consistent game in and game out, this is going to be a short season again. And to me, a short season is not winning a championship.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. Gerald, do want to get your thoughts on, big takeaways from this team so far this season.
Not very good. I mean, I know it's when you look at it, if you want to look at a face value, yeah, it's substantially better than what happened this time last season when we were still in kind of doldrums. We're just trying to get out of it at this point in time. After the 2-10 start, we still had Russell Westbrook on the team, Patrick Beverley on the team, and they were pretty much still dragging this team down at that point in time. But, coming off the high of the NBA Cup, and Joe and I have disagreed a little bit of this. I believe that the Lakers spent so much energy, especially in those last two games in Vegas, that they've just not been able to go ahead and find much of it left, that energy that they need in order to go ahead and win these games that they needed to win against below average teams. You see Indiana, ever since the NBA Cup, they've been struggling as well. And LeBron has said so in interviews. In fact, he said it last night. That's why he's out of the game tonight, is because he's tired. They need to rest him. He said as much, that he said the team is fatigued. So you can make that as an excuse as far as the NBA Cup. The NBA got what it wanted. It got a prime time bump up in the ratings. It got its money, et cetera, et cetera. So the thing is, though, the Lakers are using that as an excuse, and I don't like it. I don't think it's great, because the goal should be always get number 18, not just get 500,000 in the NBA Cup. But the Lakers looks like they very much put a lot of effort into this NBA Cup, and unfortunately, it has actually proven out to be something that's very costly for them overall. And you see them now; they just don't have the talent around them in the right spots, in the right places, put out there for success by Darvin Ham. He's just not doing a good job at all, in our opinion. I mean, that's pretty much universal amongst our entire panelists outside of Laker Tom and maybe L Rob. But we have just gone out of our way to say, you know what, we see things when it comes to what he's doing or not doing out there in providing this team a platform for victory. And the team is just not motivated. They don't hustle. They don't get those rebounds. They don't shoot well. A lot of these things are out there, and this is for the LeBron and AD team. And LeBron is almost 39 years old. How many years does he have left at this peak of performance? And I just see them wasting his time because they focus so much time and energy on this NBA Cup that it's coming to cost them a little bit. But still, you can only use that as so much as excuse. That's 2 weeks in the past. That's 2 weeks in the rearview mirror. The Lakers should be gearing back up. Maybe a game or two, have a little bit of hangover, but they should be back up and running. Unfortunately, it's gotten much worse. And after tonight, without LeBron in there, possibly even AD against Minnesota, it's still not going to look any better. And you've got Oklahoma City coming up on Friday. And then, of course, on Christmas Day, the Celtics. And then another trip before the end of the month at Minnesota as well. So you've set yourself up for failure. It's an organizational failure from the top down as far as how they planned this out. And unfortunately, we're seeing basically what the Lakers are, a 500 team at this time.
Man, as I've heard both of you guys talk, I feel like a common theme, and Joe kicked it off, is Darvin Ham, and his lack of rotation, his lack of doing anything. An assistant coach being a head coach. I think Joe, you said it best. But then that begs different. That, like me, I think that yes, Darvin Ham isn't the answer, but are we really going to do a head coaching switch midway through the season? So that's why I want to. So that's the question. I want to cut. I want to stop playing around. I get straight to it, to business, and say yes, we're tired. Like midway through the season, and if so, like who are we looking to bring on, and how do you guys feel about that?
The decision on what to do with the coach will likely be determined in the next few weeks. The Lakers go on a bad run here where they lose 6 to 9 in a row. There's going to be a lot of noise, and this team has talent. It should not be in this position. And the reason why they're in this position is because the head coach does not know how to use the tools that he's been given. We're not expecting certain players to do astronomical things. We're asking them to do the basic things, the things that their ability can do. You have somebody like Cam Reddish who can play good defense. You have someone like Vanderbilt. You have someone like D'Angelo Russell who can command a threat, but they're not being used correctly. And then, of course, you also have some decision-making on, let's say, a D'Angelo Russell, where his checking out of games is becoming a massive detrimental situation for the Lakers. I'd say if I had to bet, they're probably going to not make a change, but it's going to have to be something drastic. They're going to have a backup that works. And I don't really know. I don't really know who they could replace him with to make it work. The Lakers do have a history of juggling coaches and still winning. I don't know who would be out there other than maybe somebody like Terry Stotts we had discussed yesterday. That might be a solution. Probably not this late in the game. But they're in no man's land at this point. The issue at hand is if they go on a 6 or 7 or 8, 9 game losing streak, they are going to they are not going to make the playoffs. And to not make the playoffs when LeBron James and Anthony Davis are playing well, how else can you not blame the coach and the surrounding players? So if I had to say something, let's say if they're not going to fire the coach, then Rob Pelinka is going to have to make a deal that they don't want to make. The deal they don't want to make is somebody like a Zach Lavine, a contract that's so big that they're going to have to deal with the aftermath of a luxury tax, which I don't see happening either, because money trumps anything else. Usually in those situations, I don't think they're going to want to pay more than what they want to pay at that point. But that's the only way you would be able to solve the talent issue. And a lot of people don't want Zach Lavine and things like that because of his contract. And also, will he make a difference? I believe his ability will make a difference. Absolutely. That's the perfect third guy. Now, what would be beneficial also in that deal is it's likely you can ask for a Caruso in that deal. So if you get a Zach Lavine and a Caruso, and you essentially trade Rui, D'Angelo Russell, and then whatever package you can put together with some draft capital, there's a chance that would likely happen, because I believe the Bulls would attach Caruso there to get rid of that contract. I have absolutely no doubt they would do that. They just won't trade him for nothing, though. So that would probably be the first thing that comes to mind in terms of the Lakers being able to do a quick solving trade. But they would have to commit to the fact that they're risking a lot of money on the table to hopefully right the ship to still compete for a championship. And even then, I don't know if Darvin Ham is going to use these guys correctly. So the Lakers are in a very bad spot right now. They better get their head out of their rear ends tonight. They better win tonight if they don't want those things to happen. They got to win tonight. They got to win the next 2 out of 3 games. They put themselves in a really bad spot right now. We were hoping for 2 out of 3 after they won the last 3. Now they better win the next 2 out of 3 otherwise, and one of those better be the Celtics. So I'm assuming they're thinking, well, we're going to lose the Minnesota game anyways on the back end. And see, you see how the loser mentality works, guys? And you can't come back and retort with, well, Joe, you got to get with the program. You got to get with the culture. No, I don't. I've said this on our show plenty of times. I'm going to say it on your show here, John. And when you play like a complete pussy and think like a complete pussy, you get pussy results. And you're telling me that in 2023, soon to be 2024, with all the state-of-the-art machinery, all the top-notch medical staffs, all the top-notch nutritionists, you're telling me all this stuff that you've advanced in this league for the last 10, 15 years, you're telling me that you're still trying to nurse knick-knack stuff and that you're not playing at the back end of back-to-back? And I'm not talking about LeBron James. He's an exception. 21 years. He's an exception. But I'm talking about the ones that are young and in their prime. Why isn't Gabe Vincent playing? If he's not going to play, just show him old Yeller and just get rid of it. Get rid of the damn dog then at that point. Like, what's your point here? You take up the MLE, something that is a prized possession for a team that's over the salary cap, and you're an integral part of this team being successful. You're the backup point guard. Why is it important on this team? Because our starting point guard is Jekyll and Hyde. He's there one day, he's not. He's there one quarter, he's not there the next quarter. He's the most inconsistent point guard probably in the NBA with the skill set he has. So now what? At what point are you going to continue to use excuses, Darvin Ham? And that's really the clincher for me with him. I wasn't really getting on Darvin Ham too much at the first month. Gerald and some of the guys on the show were, and of course the people listening were wanting his head and saying things like, we don't like Ham and wins or losses. And I go, okay, well, you guys are making the announcement. I don't really need to pile on anymore. But to me, when your head coach is saying, well, we're trying to reel away from the tournament, I'm like, asshole, 6 of those games are freaking regular season games. What do you mean you ran out of your energy? They're regular season games. You just played one extra game. What do you mean you ran out of gas? It wasn't like you went off to Hawaii and played 10 games and then came back and are continuing the season as an 82-game season. 6 of those 7 games are a part of the 82-game season. So that's a loser's mentality. That is a chump mentality. That is a scared mentality. These guys are not listening to him. So the reason why he didn't call a timeout when Anthony Davis's ankle turned into a spaghetti is because he's kind of tired of them not listening to him. Which, sure, I can sympathize with the fact that the players aren't listening, but that's your job, Ham. Your job is to connect. And if you can't connect, you got to go take your hands out of your pockets and go to Rob Pelinka's office and say, you know how they do at the in Vegas, right? Right, Gerald? Right? When they're done with their shift.
Yep. They go on their break. Yep.
Yeah, you need to go. Because 90% of this game is about the coach being able to connect with the players and have them listen to him. And it's a very, very difficult job. And it was difficult way before the Poontangs came in. Way before. It's always been a problem. It's always had a handful of really, really good coaches. The rest, not good. Because professional basketball players are divas to the till. They don't listen to anybody except their agents and themselves. But that's the game, guys. And you gotta find the right people that can connect. And if you don't, you're gonna find yourself in a very, very, very tough spot.
Man, I love that. I love the your take on Darvin Ham and as to what we should do with him. Gerald, I'd love to give you the floor. And I want to get your opinion. I know Joe brought in a great perspective as to do we get rid of Darvin Ham? Do we not get rid of Darvin Ham midway through the season? As of like how we said, December 21st, you know, if the keys were in your hands, do you get rid of a Darvin Ham right now? Do you move on, or do you hope that, you know, this is getting rides out or gets better?
Well, again, hope is not something that Joe wants to hear. It's like a word that's allergic to him. I will say this: when it comes to what is being done right now, I would give Darvin Ham the ultimatum: get your damn hands out of the pockets and start coaching this team. Start being aware of what's going on there when you're standing 5 feet away from the court or less, inches away from the court, I should say, and you're watching your guy get injured and you're not calling an immediate timeout. Instead, you're letting the game action go on to where LeBron doesn't know that Anthony Davis is injured and throws the ball back thinking he's there and throws it out of bounds. That is on you for not calling a timeout. That is on him. That just shows that he is just so passive in how he wants to go ahead and dictate for this team. We need to get someone else in there, but the problem is, who is that individual? Yes, you know, people are saying, oh, you guys want Ham gone. You guys want Ham gone. Well, who do you want in there instead? Well, the thing is, that's the problem, and that's the issue. And we're going to be honest to admit that. We don't have the other coach in mind as of yet. We don't have the perfect replacement as of yet. The Lakers, instead of going out and getting themselves a top-of-line coach to coach LeBron in his final years and AD in his final back end of his peak years, we decided to go ahead and get a career assistant coach who hadn't gotten a job elsewhere as a head coach, finally giving him the opportunity and saying, okay, let's run with it and let's see what we got. Because he was maybe probably, I'm assuming, less expensive alternative, because we see with Monty Williams and Pop how much the dollar amount is when you have a established coach in the league. So God forbid Jeannie and Rob would want to go ahead and pay the extra amount for a better coach that understands what's going on. We see what happens in Philadelphia. You know, Philadelphia was expected to go ahead and, you know, have a little bit of a disappointing season, or a season maybe on the decline a little bit, but Nick Nurse comes in there and he's able to go ahead and get this team into a playable level where they're now near the top of the Eastern Conference. A coach can do that for you initially. Ultimately, it's up to the players, but a coach can help make the key and right decisions to go ahead and get your guys an opportunity, a better opportunity to win. And I feel that Darvin Ham does not put this team in a position to win more times than not. He makes either poor decisions, lack of adjustments, or just basically does not challenge calls, you know, that are blatantly, you know, should go or be challenged. It just does not make the decisions down the stretch he needs to, or makes the adjustments that he needs to. He's just getting outcoached time and time again. So yes, we do want a new coach in there, but the problem is, who do we replace him with at this point in time? Phil Handy's not going to get the job done. He's been a career assistant for probably the same reasons that Darvin Ham's been a career assistant. We don't know. I would love to see us get a Jamal Mosley, or get one of these bright young coaches that have the ability to go ahead and speak up to these guys and not be passive and say, you know what, it's my way or the highway. Let's go. Let's do this. If you're not going to hustle your butt out there, then don't expect to play. That's the type of coach we need. That's the type of coach we don't have right now. We got a guy that stands there with his hands in his pockets and expects to go ahead and run the Los Angeles Lakers to an 18th world title. That's not going to get it done, my friend.
That's absolutely not going to get it done. And honestly, I'm in agreement with both you guys, with both, you know, Gerald and Joe. My only thing is, I really fear firing a coach and bringing in a coach midway through the season.
They just don't want to pay for it. The Lakers don't want to pay contracts. It's just that simple. Because remember, they're not owned by a conglomerate. They're owned by one sole entity, pretty much in and of itself. And thus, there is a tendency to not, or maybe cut back on some things that you don't want to go ahead and spend, you know, an exorbitant amount. Even though the Lakers are worth close to $10 billion, they generate more money than virtually any other team in the league. It's still, you want to go ahead and have your cake and eat it too, and try to cut corners when you can. And that's certainly, so far from what we've seen, even Vogel was undercut on his contract, as you saw. yeah, it's just you try to cut corners when you can, and it starts always with the head coach for us.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the fundamental problems that, like a lot of people don't really realize with the Lakers is that the fact that they are basically a family ran business, and they want to, like I look at the Clippers with Steve Ballmer, where he was the freaking like CEO of Microsoft. Like the money he's got coming in, like he's just getting extra money for the Clippers. Like this isn't a family owned business that they need to keep up and keep running versus for the Buss family, complete opposite. But like what I was getting at with Darvin Ham is like, I definitely am tired of the 3-guard rotations. I'm definitely tired of the passive aggressive. I'm tired of him not making adjustments when they need to be made. But my biggest fear is, like I was saying, is firing a coach midway through the season and then bringing on another coach. Joe was talking about how as a coach, you need to be able to connect with players. And I fear that whoever we bring in, like, unless we bring on even Michael Jordan himself, like let's say Michael Jordan was an option for a coach, like I don't know if any of these players will have the time to connect with that coach, to understand the way that that coach wants to be able to run the team. And I just think that firing him midway through the season could honestly just make the whole situation worse. But I know sometimes in life, you just got to let go before it actually gets worse. And I guess, with that, I guess that kind of transitions me to one of my next questions for you guys. And, we talk on your guys' podcast all the time, the Lakers Fast Break Pod, which, everyone listening, you definitely go check that out. Everything will be linked in the description down below. But so I know your guys' opinion, but for the family out there and for my viewers, like I want them to hear your guys' side of this, is like, third star or not. Joe, I know you feel very strongly about this, so I definitely want you to, take the floor. Third star or not, do we hold on to this idea? Last year we were deep. Like that's what got us to the Western Conference Finals. The fact that we were deep. You didn't know who was going to come from. You didn't know who was going to give you 20 that night. And in theory, we're supposed to only get deeper this year. Hasn't really happened the exact way that we thought. So exactly my question is, third star or not? And if so, who? For who?
You need a third scorer. The third scorer will allow LeBron to sit without losing too much when he sits. Same with AD when he sits. There's no one on the team that we can rely on to make up for what they do on the offensive end, or to keep the defense honest, worrying about whether they're going to keep people or leave people open to shoot shots that they will regularly make. It's complicated. There's a lot of moving parts to this. It's going to come down to that's why when you don't have a system, you become reliant on, let's say, the LeBron offense, and of course using AD as the anchor. They don't even use AD correctly a lot. I still can't figure out, and I didn't really watch a lot of New Orleans Pelican basketball back in the day. I watched enough, but not a lot, to where I don't know why they don't design an offense to get AD the ball closer to the rim. And he's not Karl Malone. He's not he's not even Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley had a good range every now and then. Karl Malone had that 18-foot shot down pat, pick and roll, or if you're swinging it to the weak side, didn't matter what it was. He's not Jamal Wilkes. He's just not. That shot in this particular offense, if it was consistent, actually would make a difference. But it doesn't seem like Darvin Ham really understands that. And of course, AD hasn't improved, or at least done it since, let's say, the 2020 season when they won a championship. He did it for a little bit there, but not much, but enough to where it was pretty valuable to the team's success. There's a lot of above the neck issues right now in many areas, including LeBron and AD. LeBron is frustrated. AD could be somewhat frustrated, or he could be satisfied to some degree. I think the reason why AD isn't known as a killer is because I think he kind of runs on an even keel. Doesn't really. He will get excited when he plays well and makes a good play, but I don't know if he's ferociously hungry. LeBron is a passive, hungry type, but to me, that's a contradiction in a lot of ways. That's kind of like an oxymoron. And LeBron makes too many decisions at the end of games that I'm not really happy with in terms of not being aggressive, being arguably the greatest player of all time. I believe that the best way to win in those games is to have the greatest of all time, arguably making the shot to win the game. But we don't see that enough, and it's cost us a couple games this year. As far as everyone else, the role players, the Lakers are likely going to have to do something about, and this is probably something they anticipated in the summer anyways, they're going to have to do something with D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell does have value in terms of being having a one-year deal left this year. Somebody will want that contract. Now, it's going to depend on what team would get that in return to something valuable for the Lakers. I don't know who that would be. The league has changed so much that I don't get a good feeling on who's going to unload real talent for just an expiring contract, like when Kwame Brown got traded for Pau Gasol and fillers. Those trades are very rare. That was the last time the Lakers actually had a trade like that, where they got their expiring contract for a next level player, a player that they desperately needed. I don't know who, other than, let's say, somebody like Lavine. The problem is he makes too much money, and you're going to have to decide on whether you want to go above the second apron, which I'm going to guess the Lakers don't want to do that, especially if they're going to have to fire Darvin Ham if they end up losing the next 9-10 in a row. It's a lot of stuff. So I think they're going to stay patient here, see how this thing kind of works out in the next week or two. But if they continue to lose, there's going to have to be something done. There's just no other way. You have to hope. You have to hope a lot that the Lakers win something in the next 3 games. If they lose tonight and on Saturday, but beat the Celtics, there's a stay of execution after that. But if they lose the next 3 games and get embarrassed by the Celtics on Christmas Day, there's going to be an avalanche that's coming. And Rob's going to have to make a decision. And Jeannie's going to have to understand that if you have any shot at winning a championship, if you want any shot at winning a championship this year, you are going to have to bite the bullet money-wise. You're going to have to get someone who's making a lot of money that actually would help. And there are some players out there that can.
Man, absolutely. I mean, the Lakers are going to have to dig into that pocket if they really want to make something happen this year. But, as we kind of start to wrap up here, Gerald, I want to get your thoughts as to right now, the December 21st, we do sit in the 8th seed, 15 and 13. But what I want to ask is, let's say nothing doesn't happen. Where does this Lakers team finish? We a play-in team? Are we not even a play-in team? Let's be real and let's not have like a prisoner's mentality situation, because like the games prior to this losing streak, we weren't freaking out like this. Now we're kind of freaking out. But honest question, predictions as to where the Lakers finish if nothing happens, we continue like this.
Well, if we continue like this, we're going to have our ups and downs pretty much for the rest of the season. The Lakers will probably get their win back at some point, give us a little bit of hope, and then go on another one of these runs again where they're struggling. So I'd say right now they're going to be pretty much where they're at, just 2 to 5 games above 500. That's going to lead us to a 7th through 10th spot in the Western Conference, which means play-in and which means an uphill battle once again for LeBron and AD.
Joe, are you in agreement with that?
They keep the current roster and Darvin Ham continues to coach the way he's coaching now. I see them winning, if they're lucky, 44 to 45 games. and then probably getting like an 8 seed, still having to deal with a plan. Yeah, I think that's where they would be. And if that were the case, I think the morale of the team would be in the toilet. And I think at some point if they found themselves getting out of that plan and playing in the first round, I believe they probably get bounced by either Denver or Phoenix or some of those kind of teams. I don't know where Denver is going to finish up. I have a hard time believing Minnesota is going to be the first seed at the end of the year. I don't know. I just don't. I feel like they shouldn't be playing above their heads because they have the talent, but I want to see a little bit more before I fall in line with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is. I keep hearing all this. He's great. He's this. He's that. He's a phenomenal player, but is he going to have the focus the entire time? And that's what I want to know. And of course, you have Rudy Gobert, who unfortunately has issues playing his game when it matters. It's not really his fault. It's just he's got deficiencies in this particular area that are very easily exposed, and that's the issue there. And of course, Cat has a history of getting injured. Something might happen. If something happens there, there could be a problem there. But right now, I don't. I just think they have I know they have a head coach right now that should not be a head coach in the NBA. He should never have been a head coach in the NBA and should never get another job as a head coach in the NBA. He has no business being a head coach in the NBA. He doesn't have any leadership skills. His overall presence and existence is extremely downgrading. I don't feel anything when I look at Darvin Ham. And when he speaks, it is regurgitated dialogue of cliches and nonsense, which most people do. I'm not going to just throw that on Darvin Ham. When someone doesn't know what to say because they don't want to A, offend someone, B, don't want to ruffle feathers, C, don't want to let anybody know what they're saying or doing. Well, that's nice and all, but maybe he should go hang out with maybe Pat Riley. Pat Riley was pretty darn good at telling you what he was thinking and what he was going to do without actually being abrupt. But it was obvious. It was still obvious. Phil Jackson had quips. Phil Jackson is, in my opinion, the greatest coach ever in terms of dialogue. I just thought he was the most entertaining coach you could ever listen to. Popovich gets that crown for some reason, but he's an obnoxious slob to me. I never got the excitement about him talking with Craig Sager and all that kind of joking, stupid jokes. Like there's guys that he reminds me of someone who's kind of like Kenny Smith. Kenny Smith's a good example of a guy that tries to tell a joke that's not funny, but he thinks it's funny. And people who listen to Greg Popovich, because he's Greg Popovich, tend to kiss his ass just because he's Greg Popovich. So in the end, I just thought his comedy was not that entertaining. Phil Jackson was, not because he was a Laker coach, just because, he had good dialogue. He had good retorts. Stan Van Gundy was another good one that I liked because I think he was very honest. And he held back still, even though he was honest. So these things to me matter. These things tend to depict a culture. Now, saying Stan Van Gundy, if somebody's like, well, Joe, Stan Van Gundy was a terrible coach. I don't believe that. You stick any coach in Detroit with that kind of talent, you're going to probably stink. And the other is he made Shaq irritated, which Shaq made everybody. Shaq didn't even start listening to Pat Riley, so Shaq was just always going to be Shaq no matter where he was, which always cracks me up that he comes back now 40 years later about how he should have done this, he should have done that. Makes me actually more aggravated. I'd prefer Shaq to say, look, this is how I roll, instead of, man, I should have given the reins to Kobe. I should have listened to Pat Riley here, and I'm just like, ugh. But anyways, it's a very uncomfortable setup right now. I didn't expect this. This happened all within the last few days. I wasn't expecting them to lose to the Spurs last week. And I thought they would get themselves back on track on Monday. And then they got their butts whipped by the Bulls on top of that. They are a disgrace right now. They're an absolute disgrace. And if they get blown out tonight, they're still going to have excuses. And then I'm going to see what happens on Saturday. If they get blown out again on Saturday, I'm waiting for another excuse there. And then what's your excuse going to be when you're on national television? Really, the beginning of the season, which is Christmas, right, Gerald? That's when everybody starts to pay attention, which is complete bullshit, by the way. I don't even know who the hell brought that up. No one gives a crap about the NBA on December 28th, January 4th, or December 1, or February 1. Where does this, well, the season starts on Christmas. I'm like, okay, so people pay attention on Christmas because they're sitting at home. Not because they're like, all right, the NBA, I'm ready to watch the NBA the rest of the year. No, I don't know who said that, but it's not true. The key here is the Lakers are going to have to do something if they lose the next 3 games. They have to do something or they're toast.
Absolutely, man. I feel like, a common theme throughout the, the show here has been Lakers are going to have to do something. I wanted to put this episode together because I definitely wanted to talk about, just some of the biggest news, like how we did about some takeaways of the team, Darvin Ham, 3rd star or not. And we got into all that and more, man. I hope that all the listeners out there, hope you guys had a good time tuning in, listening to a familiar face, Gerald, and my guy, Joe. Appreciate you guys as always. And for the listeners out there, you guys can always check out all great Lakers content from the Lakers Fast Break Pod. I'll have everything linked in the description down below. And, I think a perfect way to end this off is, Joe, in the last post-game show, you said something that really resonated with me. You said, we made the Spurs look like a team that was not on an 18-game losing streak. We made the Knicks look like a solid playoff team, and we lost to the Bulls and made them look like a playoff team. So, honestly, there has to be change. Change does need to happen in LA, whether it happens with coaching or players. Now that is up Jeannie and our front office to decide. But for me, man, you can always catch me at all Lakers content, man. It's all Lakers Corner. And then, like I said, man, check out my guys, Gerald and Joe, and even Sean at the Lakers Fast Break Pod. But for now, we're going to go watch this Minnesota Timberwolves game. Hope that the Lakers can get a dub and not go on a 4-game losing streak. Because if we can't get a win today, that means we're going to go on a 4-game losing streak. And if after that we have the Thunder, after that we have the Celtics, and as like Joe said many times throughout the show, if we go on this 5-6 game losing streak, the snowball effect will come down hard on the Lakers, because that's just one of the biggest markets in the NBA, man. But for now, we're out of here, y'all, and hope you guys enjoy the rest of this Lakers season. Peace.